I'm Kevin, and I'm just one of the people here at the Corps. I grew up in the church. My parents were officers, so I've always known the Salvation Army as my home church. And even though many of my friends, my family have moved on to other churches, this is where I feel I belong. But as far as my actual personal walk, I usually say that I was 17, I want to say. It was somewhere in either my 17th or 18th year, and we were having a Corps retreat. We were at the Oakland Corps at the time, and we were out at Camp Redwood Glen, and it just all kind of came crashing in on me one Sunday, and I found myself at the altar praying, and that was actually the first time I ever was at an altar. I had never gone up before. And the thing is having grown up in the Army, I was a junior soldier, senior soldier, you do all of that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was ever a time when I didn't feel aware of God or believe in God. But that day, that morning, was when it became personal, when it became real. And so that's usually when I list as my coming to Jesus moment. Right after high school, I went into the military at the encouragement of my dad. He thought it would be a good experience. He did 6 years in the military, and he just felt that that would be something I should do. And I only ended up doing 2 years, but it was a very tough 2 years for me on a spiritual basis because I was pretty much the only person who was a churchgoer prior to coming to the military. And then during those times, I was the only one who was actively attending a church. Now, the neat thing is after basic training, I went to Germany, and I found out that there was a Corps in the town where I was. And so the first Sunday I had the opportunity, I said, I've got to go check this out. And believe it or not, it turned out the officers were Americans. They're from the Southern Territory, and it gave me a grounding through that 2 years, and it was important. There were times when you really feel lonely. You feel like nobody understands you because most of the other guys didn't come from that background. So when you get back from that, you look around and you say, I've been changed by the experience, and in many ways it was for the better. But it did, I felt somewhat alienated from the friends and family I had in the church. And it took a while for me to get back to that, to get back to where I felt like I belonged in the church again. And so I sometimes say I can understand how other people feel who maybe went to church early in their lives and then fell away and are coming back and maybe saying, I don't quite fit here. Because I went through that. The thing is I never doubted that God was there. I really didn't. That was the one thing. And so even through those few years when I would say I was adrift, emotionally, spiritually, I was going to church, but I wasn't really there. It was through some very strange circumstances that I discovered I had the ability to work in the field that I work in now, which is graphic arts and multimedia. That made a huge difference. Being able to say, I actually have a talent that God gave me that I wasn't even aware of for the first 30 years of my life meant that I could understand my place and what I might do. And over the years, that also helped to ground me in it because I could say, okay, God has given me a voice. God has given me a way to share. And a lot of what I do today is using those same talents. You know, I love working with any kind of media, whether it's print or video or whatever. In the book of Jeremiah, in the 29th chapter, there's a couple of verses I like to reference in class, wherever, because I think they're verses that reach to us, that speak to us in times of turmoil, in times of trouble, or just day to day. And it's before Jeremiah 29:15. It actually starts in verse 8. And it's God speaking to the people of Israel while they're slaves in Babylon. And he says to them through the prophet, he says, plant gardens and eat what grows there. And he says more than that, but I just love that idea of plant gardens. Take time to enjoy what life offers. Be happy in your circumstance. And that's been something I've held to for a long time is just reaching for that peace that comes from knowing that God is in control, that we often won't understand what's happening in the world that's around us, especially when you look at the news and the headlines. But that doesn't mean that we can't be content, that we can't be happy,